Well, first of all, Jeff, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming and sharing with us this evening. I'm going to hand over to Linda because I know that Linda was instrumental in getting in touch with you to make all of this happen, and she's been chit-chatting with you, so I know she's got some really powerful questions that actually will help the team. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving your time up for us this morning.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Right. Miss Linda, take it away, darling.
Thank you. Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for hopping on. And Jeff and I have been speaking the last few weeks, and sometimes just some of the things that Jeff says in normal conversation is just absolute gold. And I just wanted to sort of remind him of how it is sometimes earlier in this journey and reaching certain milestones in our business, whether we've been around a few years or, you know, I'm coming into a decade now. And some of the challenges at each of the different levels and different milestones, and how easy it is to get comfortable a lot. And that can sometimes be our biggest enemy, how we can go into management mode and kind of stop pushing the boundaries. And so when I asked Jeff if he could, you know, consider coming on to this, in Jeff's typical style, he really wanted to know, and this is clue number one, he really wanted to know who's going to be on and how can I serve them. Like, he wanted 2 more phone calls that we've had since I put the idea, and that shows Jeff's level of commitment. And I think the biggest clue is always knowing who he's in front of and what they need. And that's what his intention is to deliver. So I think that that's a huge clue in leadership right there. Is he could get on and say all kinds of things to wow us. Frankly, he wouldn't need to try. But I invited Jeff to kind of really give us a look behind the curtain of what it really, really takes to be $100 million earner in this industry that he helped establish, and how to stay hungry, how to keep accountable, how to keep serving at a bigger level. And we both agreed that it'd be really cool to do this conversational style, because we're a family, we're a leadership NMD family, and together, you know, we're at different stages, but we get to learn. So, you know, Jeff, I thought maybe we could start with, of course, everyone knows you, but I'm not sure that everyone knows, you know, the background stories. Like, one of my favorite moments with you was the morning we got up early. We took the bikes out on the sand. Because you do it every day, you were way too fast, and I could barely keep up, and it was quite annoying. It was very humid. But we rode past, you know, sleepy Sarasota, and you pointed out your bachelor pad, which had 1 bedroom, 4 or 5 levels for memory. But something that stuck with me was you didn't buy that bachelor pad until you were many years in and many zeros in to your journey, and you stayed focused and humble. And can we start with that part of your story about what Jim Rohn said to you really early on about what real wealth is and how you stay focused on that?
Okay. Well, thank you, Linda. And it's good morning here. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. I guess it's whatever time it is there in the evening for you guys. I'm calling from my home here in Florida this morning. It's bright and early, but I'm excited to be on the call. You know, it's funny, I was thinking about, you know, our company's called the Juice Plus Company, but when I started back in '87, it was called NSA, National Safety Associates. And I used to joke that NSA stood for Never Sleep Again, and also stood for numerous savings accounts. And if you really work this business, you could have financial independence. And I heard you guys talking about the humidity over there. You know, in Florida, we have 3 seasons. It's hot, hotter, and hottest. But it's a little chilly this morning getting up first thing, getting going. But to answer your question, Linda, you know, it's interesting because, you know, when I got started in the business, I was 24 years old. I was an ex-broke waiter, and I showed up here with all this hunger and desire and willingness to work and teachable and just really wanted this, was praying actually to God to bring me something in my life that I could have financial independence and go out there and make a difference in the world. But I'll never forget, we were talking about this, Linda, I'll never forget when I had the opportunity to spend time with the late, great Jim Rohn. And I would highly encourage you to feed your mind with Jim. I mean, it's just some unbelievable wisdom. And, Jim told me, he said, Jeff, you're not financially independent when you can live off of the income of your income, He goes, you're financially independent when you can live off of the income off of your personal assets. Sometimes we think, just because we start making, 5,000 or 10,000 a month or whatever it is, and we fall into the management mode or the comfort zone, and you think, okay, well, this is just, this is great, and I got residual income, and I'm at this level. Really the finish line, we talked about this, now NMD, now what? To me, the finish line was the starting line. Once I got to NMD, that's when the game just began, to see how many other people now I can get to NMD along with me. So I think the message that I was trying to share with you, Linda, when we were talking about, staying in the production stage, not falling into the management zone and the comfort zone or the management of just managing people, but always staying in the production stage and building new front lines and staying hungry. That's where all the fun is in the business. Over I guess this past January is my 31st year, but from back in the water and air filtration days, and when I was massively building frontline, not only here in North America, but all over the world, over the years, I've developed 41 frontline national marketing directors. I've moved over $10 billion worth of products. And so how do you build this type of income? How do you build this type of wealth and abundance? Is you keep staying in the production stage, where you keep building new front lines. I think I shared with you, Linda, nothing will ignite your business more than 5 new front lines. Sometimes we get some people on our team and, we start working with them, and, you keep talking to the same people because that's the path of least resistance. When I started back 30 some years ago, I could have stayed right here in Sarasota, Florida, and worked the Tampa Bay area and just kept working with the same people. But to get out of your comfort zone, to get into some uncharted waters, to stretch yourself, to go and do it over and over again and keep building new front lines was the key. And, I kind of looked at it almost like it was a game, like, well, how many franchises can I set up? If I just have, a couple franchises, I can do okay. But if I keep duplicating myself and keep setting up more franchises, virtual franchises around the world, I could build something that's massive. You could diversify yourself. You could spread it out over, not just your local market. I always tell people, build locally, but think globally. Today with technology, guys, there's no reason why you can't have a business all over the world. To pay your residual income for the rest. Hello?
We've got you. We can hear you.
Can you see me?
You're frozen for a minute. Sometimes if you stop oh, you're back. You're back. Keep going.
Okay. I don't know why I got frozen. I've got a good Wi-Fi signal this morning. Should be okay.
You were right in build locally, but think globally. With today's technology.
Right. Yeah, with the technology we have today, you could build yourself a global business because you can teach and train and inspire and communicate and build your business on a global level. So there's no reason why you shouldn't have business in every market around the world. And you can build an international business, a worldwide, a global business today with the technology that we have. So, I think we talked about this a little bit, Linda. Let me just share this. There's 4 stages that a distributor goes through. And if you really think about it, when we come into the business, stage 1 or phase 1 or whatever you want to call it, is you show up and you're in what I call the production stage, where you produce. You go out and get new customers, you build a growing customer base, you build relationships, you start to build new team, you start to build some width, you start to build some structure, but you go out and produce all day long. Your job description is to go out there and share the story, share the mission, share what we're all about, get customers, build a team, build for events. That's what you do. You're in the production stage. What happens is we start to get some people on our team, and now we move into what I call stage 2 or phase 2, where you fall into what I call the management stage. Well, that's where now you've got a few people on your team, but you can't go out and keep producing because you've got to manage these people. You've got to work with them and manage them. Well, what happens is distributors don't do what you tell them to do. They do what you do. They watch the feet, not the lips. So it's once they start in the production stage and they start to get a few people on their team, they see you managing your team, so they fall into the management zone. They start falling into the management phase where they stop producing. Now they're managing their team, which pushes you to phase 3, which is what I call you become an overseer, where you oversee the managers that manage the producers. Well, this is when you're really important, right? You don't have time to go out and get new customers or build new team because you oversee that manage the producer. Well, people do what you do. You tell them. So now your managers, they start overseers because they got some people on their team that move up to manager, and now you move to what I call stage 4 or phase 4. That's when you become an overseer of the overseers that oversee the managers that manage the producers. Well, this is when you're really important. You don't even go to the meetings. You're not on the Zoom calls. Whatever it is, you now have this level where you oversee the overseers and oversee the managers that manage the producers. And you find yourself sometimes you've got big numbers in your team, but your check's not growing. Well, that's because you have now, and then you also find yourself sometimes a little overwhelmed and it's stressful and I'm dealing with all these people problems and, all the things I got to deal with. I need a break. I need to take a The fun in the business is always to stay in stage 1. That's where the juice is. That's where the fun is. Nothing will ignite your business more than putting on 5 new frontline people yourself. I'll never forget, you guys know Cheryl Cortese. I remember years ago, Cheryl had gotten her income up to, I don't remember what it was, 10, 20, 30 a month, whatever she was at. Let's call it 20 a month. And she was working with her team and building her business and things were going great, and certainly, felt very grateful, very blessed. But you know what? She was sad. She wasn't playing at her highest. She just grow. I want to double my check or triple my check. And I said, here's what we got to do, Cheryl. We got to go back and pretend like you're signing your application all over again. We got to go back and do what you did in the beginning that got you to this position. In other words, we got to go national marketing director all over again. We got to build 5 new front lines. And I said, here's what's going to happen. Some of your team are actually going to be resentful. They're going to be like, well, why aren't you working with me? Why am I not the issue? What do you mean you're putting on new front line? You're working with new people. And maybe at first you have a little, but they will respect you because they will see that you're out there building. It's easier to lead people than it is to push people. And so that's what Cheryl and I did. We said, okay, let's go out and build you to national marketing director all over again. Let's go build 5 new front lines. And you know what? Her check more than doubled. It doubled. It tripled over the next few years as we started to build some new width. Because not only did she build new width and build new team, her people did the same thing. They saw Cheryl out there building new business, and they said, you know what? I get it. First I was angry with her. She wasn't spending all her time with me. Then I started to respect what she was doing. I was like, well, wow, look at her. She's out there. Started to do what she was doing. And not only build a new team, now her organization or team starting to build a new team. And those are the 4 stages that people go through. And so what I'm challenging you today or tonight on your call for your time is to go back into stage 1, the production stage. You know, sometimes we get comfortable. You know, you start making 5 a month, 5,000 a month, or 10,000 a month, or 20,000 a month, and it's easy to just keep working with the same people that you've brought into the business. Listen, the greatest gift you can give them is their independence. Let them go, let them grow, let them build their virtual franchises. You go out there and get into some uncharted waters. You get back into the production stage. You get out of the comfort zone. You start building new frontline again, and you watch what that does to your organization, to your team. They will follow you. I'll never forget, I did my first 5 years here in North America. I'm talking about taking all out massive action, working day and night, saying no to going out and partying or being out on the beach or goofing off with my friends, and putting in the 16, 18, 20-hour days. You're rewarded in public for what you do in private. Everybody sees me today now, but they don't, you know, that extra 10% effort that produced 90% of the results, getting up early, staying up late, having that emotionally charged why, putting in that extra effort. So it was 5 years here in North America. And, you know, before I was 30 years old, I already made over $10 million, $12 million, whatever it was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And everybody was like, this guy's still working like it was the very beginning. And then I went over and put together another plan over Europe and did the same thing and created just as big of a business, if not bigger, over there. So what I'm challenging you guys today, and I know it's not much of a conversation, I'm doing all the talking here, Linda, but the challenge is to stay in the production stage. That's where the fun is. That's where the excitement is. That's where you get to work with these new baby distributors that, you know, they've got a fresh, warm market. They got a good, positive attitude, and they're hungry. And you're not just always pushing your existing team. You know, you're out there saying, okay, I'm here to support you any way I can, but I got to lead by example. I got to be the best distributor in my organization. I got to be the one that say, look at the level this guy's playing at. Holding.
Hi.
Am I cutting out?
You did for a little, but now I see a pause. I'm taking a lot of notes here, which is awesome.
Well, and it's on my iPad. Maybe I should have done on my iPhone.
I think we're good. Sometimes if the connection's not amazing, sometimes it helps to turn the camera off. So if it keeps happening, maybe we'll, as much as we love seeing you and your enthusiasm, let's see how we keep going, yeah?
Oh, and vision.
All right. I can always turn the camera if you want me to.
Yeah, let's see how we go. We love seeing you as much as we can. But, and I remember another, one of our conversations, when you're talking about Jim Rohn, there just seems to be so many one-liners, and what an incredible mentor to have had. When he talked about, you know, it sounds like you're sitting at the table of success too long. I loved that. That got me. What did that mean to you? Obviously, get back out in production. What else did that mean to you?
Well, I'll never forget, though, another conversation I had with Jim. You know, and he talked about, he said, Jeff, being this broke waiter and down in the valley, hungry, full of desire, willing to work, he goes, you're going to have tremendous growth, progress and growth climbing that mountain. But what happens is when we have success and you get to the top, what happens is we sometimes stop growing, sit at the table of success too long. And, you know, you're the happiest in life when there's progress. You're the happiest in life when you're growing. You know, growth, contribution, growth serve you when you're growing, when you're progressing, you're contributing. The law of the universe, all things either grow or they die. Either you contribute or you're eliminated. And I'll never forget, he said, the biggest challenge you're going to have, Jeff, is to continue to grow when you get to the top. You know, to continue to grow. Hey, I told you, Linda, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you're rot. And we send it too long, stop growing.
When you're ripe, you rot. We love that. Thank you. I got a lot out of that. So tell us this, Jeff. Like you didn't grow up with this huge ambition. I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. What do you have to say for us about the theory of the set point? You know, okay, I'm worth $40,000 a month, and I'm good until I get there, and then maybe I'll start sabotaging. Maybe I'll start wondering, am I worth this much? How did you get past that? I know you had a conversation with Cheryl about that. What about you yourself? Who did you look to? What books did you read? I know you're massive on personal development.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people, this is the area where this is the dirty area no one talks about. That self-worth and net worth. And once we're comfortable, it's very easy to stay comfortable, especially when we've already stretched beyond where we thought we would ever be. How do we keep stretching and growing and not sit at that success table?
Well, that's where, like I said, the finish line is the new starting line. You know, it's like people think, oh, I get to NMD and, you know, I've made it. No, that's just when the journey begins. You know, how many other people can I help get to NMD? So yes, I'm a big believer in personal development. You know, we've said over the years, this business really is a course in personal development, clearly disguised as, you know, you've got to feed your mind. You know, and I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn, obviously Tony Robbins over the years. You know, I've studied Zig Ziglar. There's a lot of different sources. I mean, you guys know what you got to do to feed your mind and keep yourself in what I call a peak resourceful state. You know, you've got to show up in state. Just like I took control 2 years ago of my physical mastery. You know, I wasn't congruent. I wasn't relevant, you know, with the message, you know, inspiring healthy living around the world when I was carrying an extra 50, 60 pounds on my body. I let it gotten away from me. And I said, you know what, Jeff, you've got to raise your standards. You've got to live the mission. You've got to get a new product story. You've got to show up and walk the talk. You got to show up as an example, not a warning. You know, where you come in and people go, wow, you inspire yourself so you can inspire other people. And I'll never forget, I came back after that conference back in 2016 in Arizona in April, and I showed up in St. Louis that fall, and people thought they'd seen a ghost, and I had stepped up and raised my standards, quit making excuses, and said, okay, I'm going to get a new product story. I'm going to live the mission. I'm going to walk the talk. I'm going to show up as an example, not a warning. The same thing in the business. You know, I had a breakthrough 2 years ago with my physical mastery, just like I had when I started my business. I had a breakthrough. I had reached a threshold, a breaking point, a moment in time, a defining moment where enough was enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired on my bills in life, my promises in life, to myself, to my friends, to my family. So to keep going when you hit these different levels, to me, first of all, when you really love what you do and you get to add value to people's lives and you're doing something that really is rich in relationships and rich in emotional and spiritual revenue, your why will evolve over time. You know, my why is so different than what it was when I started back in the beginning out of desperation. Today it's out of inspiration. So I continued to keep building Frontline because I felt like it wasn't an opportunity, it was a responsibility. When you know what you know about this product, when you know what you know about this opportunity, how could you not share this with somebody? How could you just sit back, Jeff, in your ivory tower here on the beach and life's all about me and be a selfish NMD? So I relit my why, that it was now out of inspiration to keep paying it forward and never to forget where you came from and loving it, enjoying it. I mean, Cheryl and I, we talk about this all the time. We're 30-year veterans, 3 decades later. We made our fortune a long time ago. But we get charged emotionally, spiritually. We love the relationships, the growth, the contribution side of it, the spiritual needs. I mean, so you'll figure that out, what keeps you going. You know, nothing lights me up more, guys, than sitting in the front row of these conferences and seeing new people walk the stage. Not the position, it's not moves you emotionally. You know, it's an experience. You go to a conference and you hear these stories to realize maybe played a role in helping them, you know, and they were part of your team and you believe in them themselves in the beginning to come across that page. It's priceless. You know, you can't put a price tag on that. So you keep evolving your why, and keep when you hit the finish line, you've got a new start line. Always something set out there ahead. Always got some new goals. Always raising your standards. Always stepping up and going to the next level.
So what I'm hearing there, and I love this, is, and sometimes NMD can be such a big milestone, and we get obsessed on that, you know, what that next milestone is, and we kind of just reach the finish line, and it's like, God, thank God that's over. What I'm hearing is, in advance, you expect to make that by a certain time, and you're already working on the next one 6 months in advance. That NMD is one of the goals, and what's the next and what's the next. So you're constantly juicing up and looking 6 months, anticipating, which we know is one of the key qualities of leaders. You're anticipating yourself about how to juice up your why 6 months down the track. So, and we've seen this, you've always built for conference. If there was nothing else that you were doing that you know, maybe we were to ever see, I still see you built for conference. I see, you know, you've now earned your right at the front seat. You've got your seats reserved, and you always have 5 or 6 more right there beside you. And you make sure that these people feel the emotional revenue. You let the conference do the job. You could do all the talking, but you actually give them the experience. You are always there taking notes on your notes. Half of what anyone is saying on the stage is actually what we learned from you. But I still see you taking notes, hungry as ever. Even, you know, are you in your office there? Are you somewhere that you could show us all of your bookshelves and you stay just as hungry now as you did 20 years ago, right? When you were just heading into Germany and doing newspaper ads and in with 300 people. We can feel your energy. When it's go time and Jeff's on, he's going to bring it and present like this. So what I'm hearing is this is who you are, and you've always done this. You won't stop doing this. And I know even when you had that health challenge for a time, it's the love of this mission and getting back to this was one of your biggest reasons why for your physical mastery. You know, what else can you share with us there about setting that goal 6 months ahead? What rituals do you have? Are you kind of doing a goal session every 6 months? Like, what does that look like? We know intellectually that we should do that, but a lot of people don't get around to it. What have you consistently done?
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, you know, I got very clear in the beginning, Linda, as far as my job description. What do I get paid for? You know, the company does what they do. They ship the product, they manufacture the product, they collect, they account, they do all the wonderful things they do administratively. But what my job description is and what I get paid for is sharing the story, talking to people. I'm very clear on that. Building a growing customer base, building a team, duplicating myself, building relationships, building for events. You know, really boils down to and there was another Jim Rohn thing he told me. He said, Jeff, a few simple disciplines done consistently over and over again equals multiple rewards. And he says, you don't have to do 1,000 things well. You only have to do a handful of things well, but just do them 1,000 times over. So, you know, I've always kept stretching myself and setting the next goal, the next level to keep growing and building my business because I enjoyed building team. I really got excited about building that with opening up these new markets, opening up these new countries. So it's really focusing on the paying activities and what you really get paid for. Building a growing customer base, building a team, building relationships, building for events. And conference has always been it's like the Super Bowl, it's the World Cup, it's a non-negotiable paying activity. And, one of the things I've done over the years, Linda, and we've talked about this, is I've always invested into proven systems and proven people. Well, what do I mean by that? We know that the conference, the Juice Plus Live event, is a proven system. Somebody comes into that room, they experience that, they see the big picture, they get the vision, they're moved emotionally, they have that experience, they see the Juice Plus family, they see the company with a heart, they then realize this existed in the business world. You get somebody there to conference. So even when I was beginning, I always invested back into my business, and whatever it took to get someone to conference, maybe I got a conference ticket, or maybe I put a little bit of money on the table and stretched myself to try and get them to that conference, because I know once they experienced that and they came there, so I'm investing into a proven system, and I'm investing back into my business into proven people. Does it work every time? Have I had people that have come to conference and I thought they were going to be great, go out and be a 5%er, didn't do anything? I've had people anything. It happens to me too. So one of the things I'll also share is I understood really early in the business 80, 15, and 5. Well, what does 80, 15, and 5 mean, Jeff? That means that 80% of the people I bring into this business are going to do it sometime, part-time, or no time. I know that. And I'm going to love them and accept them for where they're at. I'm going to have a lot of people doing a little. They may just be eating and using the product. They may just be hanging around the flagpole. And I manage them by group. I place them where they're at. And I keep dripping on them. And you never know when something might change in their life, or they might hear it differently or feel it differently, and they may move into what I call the 15% group. And the 15%ers go from sometime part-time to no time to now they engage and start playing at a little higher level. Or maybe they go to VF, or maybe they go to SC, or maybe they go to SSC or QNMD. They step up and they go to another level. But really, less than 5% of the people you bring on are going to step up and play at this level, that are going to be the 5%ers. So I might have to put 100 people in the funnel, the pipeline, keep that funnel, that critical mass, keep all those new customers and distributors coming through so I can find some 5%ers. And that's where you lock arms with them and chase their business from here to China. That's where you really go after it. But you still support and work with your team, the 80%ers, the 15%ers, but you realize it's just the way it is, that less than 5% are really going to step up and play at this level.
And it's my observation, I think that when I first learned that principle that Larry Thompson shared at that time, that was profound for me, because I was doing it the other way. I was trying to turn the 80% into 5% with love and just in my enthusiasm and just dragging them there. I wanted that way more than everyone else. And this was a big game changer for me. My observation watching you all of this time, you don't do drama, you don't get distracted, you've always known and lived by these numbers. And you also get that we don't influence the outcome of those numbers, right? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Well, sometimes, like you said, Linda, I tried to make my 80%ers 5%ers. And I was, always forcing that down everybody's throat. And that's not where they're at. So I had to realize that not everyone is going to play at this higher level. And that's okay. You accept them and love them for where they're at. And you keep dripping on them. You keep them hanging around the flagpole, because you never know when they're going to hear it or see it and feel it differently and step into a 15 or even a 5%. The other thing is, listen, I don't do all this drama and focus on the problem. I'm a type of person that I put 90% of my focus on the solution, 10% of my focus on the problem. In other words, keep moving forward. Don't get bogged down and caught up in all this drama and all these problems. And when people just always are focused on the problem, listen, what's wrong in life is always available. What's right in life is also available. It's not a perfect world anywhere you go. So you just keep moving forward and realize what we have And my attitude has always been over the years, I've always worked this business with somewhat of a sense of urgency, a fear of loss, striking while the iron's hot, understanding the timing. Like every day that I miss this year, next year I might have to work 5 days to equal one of these days because of the timing. And when you show up in a peak resourceful state and you have that type of energy, that the emotional sincerity, I've always said it's not what you say, it's how you feel about what you say. People communicate more with feelings than they do words. And they realize you have their best interest at heart. You're focused on meeting their needs and adding value to their lives and creating raving fan relationships, because those long-term relationships equal long-term success. This business is never about you. It's not about your money or your check or your position. It's always about the person in front of you, focusing on their needs, not your needs. You go into a relationship, Linda, we've talked about this. You go into a relationship to get a return. Not like, we've talked about what you get in life lasts a while. What you give in life lasts a lifetime. So, people feel that when you show up there with their best interest at heart. So, I guess where I'm going with this is, staying in a peak resourceful state, feed your mind, condition your body. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to jump off here soon because I got a 7 a.m. workout. I'm the type of person, I roll out of bed now to roll into my tennis shoes. Have that hour of power. Net time. You know what net time is? No extra time. I can be doing my cardio, plug in my headphones, and feed my mind while I'm conditioning my body. And then I show up where I've set my intention for the day. I show up in a peak resourceful state. I've inspired me, and success breeds success. Would you follow you? Bottom line, we can talk all night here, your time, about how to build this business. But the bottom line is, would you follow you? Your daily method of operation, your discipline, your work ethic, your consistency of effort and attitude. How do you show up? Are you the type of person who would inspire you? Are you leading by example? Are you putting on the most new customers and building new and building new team? Distributors do what you do, not what you tell them to do. They watch the feet, not the lips. So my challenge to you is to go back and do what you did in the beginning that got you to NMD. Go do that over again. Fill out that application one more time. Mentally say, okay, I'm starting over again. I'm going to step up. I've fallen into the management mode and just keep talking to the same people, working with the same team. I need to go out and build some new with. And that's where it gets exciting. That's where it gets fun. That's where the juice, the love, the joy, the playfulness is building and working with that new team. And that's where your team will, if you need, not put. So how's that, Linda?
We're still recovering here. We're like, oh my God. Like, I often tell the story, when you do the New Year, get going and blowing call that you often do, I find myself going, oh my God, I've got to get going. And it's only in recent years that I go, it's okay, Linda. We're on track. I got to start again, but we're doing okay, because that's the power of your calls. It's always like, oh my God, I'm ready to go out and be brand new and do it again. And that's what you do the best. There's no surprise about where you are and what you have created, because you've always kept that hunger first. And what I'm hearing, to just summarize this, if I was to wrap a bow around it, when we get in our head thinking about us and our check and are we worth it, and are we a good leader, and all of that nonsense, we go into all about me, 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 me. And the difference is you have been in servant mode and the next milestone mode, and how many more people can you get to NMD and beyond like you've been able to. Just totally in that building and serving mode. So here, I'm going to say it on behalf of everyone, but maybe let's just go to gallery view here for a second. To just everyone, please show Jeff how incredibly grateful we are, getting up at 6 a.m., giving us the real deal, pouring out his huge, huge heart. His heart. I wish that everyone would really, really get and know. I'm sure you do. The size of this man's heart and his generosity of time and resources is like no other. So if we can be a quarter of the NMD that you are, Jeff, we've had a life well lived. So thank you so, so much, my friend. And on behalf of all of us, you're spectacular. We